say? Bum, bum. We're doing it live. Or at least I think we are. That's what they say. All the time. Oh yeah, I should say it all the time. What the hell? Got a notification. Eventually I'm gonna start responding to comments and stuff. Oh yeah, okay, here we go. But wait a minute. Wait a minute. Huzzah. Now, okay, watch. There we go. Bum, bum, bum. Yeah, okay, it works. All right. So, this is going to be a fun one. I'm pretty sleepy. Wait a minute. Where in the heck? Can I add another camera like midstream? And do this. Whoa, so clean today. It is pretty clean, huh? Thank you. Preset. Yes, that's good. That's Gucci. So, and we're upside down, so I've got to flip that. But wait a minute. It's already here. It just is in back, maybe? Nope. There we go. I don't know. That was weird. But yeah, it looks like we're still here. I should get a green screen. I was thinking about that. But that would probably be beneficial if I wanted to zoom in closer on my face. Which again, I'm not trying to be like, hey, look at me, I'm so pretty. But yeah. Good morning, possum. So clean. It is pretty clean. I did just moments ago move my board off of here because I had all of my shit on there. But yesterday I put together a new Antioch warband and a Heretic Legion warband. So I figured today I was just gonna probably put those on the table over here to show what I've got done. And by put together, I mean like I just did basic gluing. There were a couple that I did not have the ability to stop myself, so I just started to do the conversions already. But my initial plan was to print out models. Kelly and I play the game, so we get a better understanding of how it works, which would let us know what kind of terrain I want to play on, as far as the ground level of the board. There's already, I know, like the aesthetics that I'm really wanting, and I'm really excited about. So this is the second floor of this wood mill, and it goes together now. So I can't see that because of my screen. So essentially, a little part up here connects to this. So yeah, I need to get a better angle on this. I'm in the corner. And I can't make myself smaller. It's okay. I'll work with what I got. Here we go. Actually, derp. I need to figure out these angles. Everything's like kind of flipped, so it's like inverted controls. And I'm still waking up. Haha, I'm gonna figure it out. It's like a puzzle. Come on over here. Okay. So, there we go. Yeah, so this is supposed to look like a wood mill, with like water running across. So then, I love how, so these have little boops on the corner. Little boop. that they fit on top of the little raised triangles. I'm going to glue the rest of this floor together so it will be one piece, but just to show how it looks. This one goes over here, front. Yeah, it's gonna be a really, really big building. It's like up in 3 stories, but I am very excited about it. It will be very fun to play on in. But yeah, so little dudes can walk into this front door over here, and then just kind of come in down here. To my knowledge, I think the 3rd floor is, actually there might be 4. It's a really big little house. But I'm really, really excited, and it just finished printing that part. So I'll be attaching that, gluing it today, and then this is definitely on the list of all the terrain I'm going to be working on today. Today is pretty much, I'm just going to be on my grind, not grinding. I'm going to be on my grind with texturing, lots and lots and lots of texturing today. And I think I'll probably, I'll probably do a stream. I'll probably stream the whole thing just because I'm thinking it'll be good to have that recorded for making videos showing how I do the thing. Also, you know, it might be fun to have company while I do it. So if anyone wants to pop in on that, like while I'm doing that all day, I'll probably start the stream around. I'll probably start around like 9ish, just because I'm going to get everything together, and I'm going to get everything together, get all my materials, get everything set up so I can just start doing the thing. Because I know that when I am doing work while streaming, I get off into talking, because I love to talk, and I love to talk about what I'm doing if people are interested. But yeah, no, also I'm definitely realizing I need to get a better layout for this, for doing regular streaming. But my little setup, hey, I just realized also I never pulled my microphone. So in 2 hours, yeah, I think I might start doing that then, or I can do it now if you are really wanting me to, Possum. I'm just trying to like not be too sleepy and too messy. And I know I've got to stop in like 40 minutes. I'm gonna have to have like a stop to go make coffee and everything. But until then, I figured I could just show what I've got here, what I got done yesterday, which was pretty much printing that, and then I can go through the little dudes that I made. You do you, boo. Okay, wonderful. Yeah, I don't ever want to be like, hey, come watch me not do anything, or make a YouTube video or YouTube channel that's just like, I'm going to make a YouTube channel. You need one of them green screens. So that's okay. My mom has one, I'm pretty sure. I just need to go get it, which that's a funny concept right there. My mom has a green screen. I'm not going to think about that. But yeah, why does my mom have a green screen? Okay, so that's the question. Here's the thing, Possum. My mom was a teacher, specifically the computer lab teacher. So like the technology teacher. So that's probably why. I'm sure no, that is why. I'm almost certain. At one point in time, it would reduce your face cam visual footprint. That's what I was thinking. Is it definitely would get rid of my face cam footprint, and then also COVID Zoom calls. That is, I was going to say, I bet that's why my mom had it. I think that she had to have it for Zoom calls as a teacher. Yep. Good thinking, Possum. We figured it out. You figured it out. Yeah. But no, so I have a white and I have a black background, but I will get the green screen from my mom because I don't think she needs it anymore. She retired. And she also offered it to me. It's not that I'm just taking a green screen from my mom. I could buy one if I needed one. Just try not to be wasteful. So I'll go grab those little guys that I made. I'm pretty happy with them. So these are all pretty much just standard, like, oh yeah, I just printed out the dudes. Again, I already had bases made, so I'm going to, I guess a better explanation of today. Today is going to be, I'm getting everything ready to be painted. Like today is grit day or demo day. If I was on fixer upper, except I'm like the opposite of fixer upper. If I was on fix it downer, I don't know, flip it upside downer, and I had to just do demo, it would just be gritting. It would be opposite. I'm just going to cover all these in grit. But we'll zoom in a little bit here so you can see a little bit better. I've been talking with Eric. I need to get a camera that is probably a little bit more in depth. Let me fuck with the focus. So get this guy in. Other way. There we go. So yeah, this is the one that I think spent the most amount of time on yesterday as far as New Antioch goes. But it was just a very quick, very dirty snip here, snip there. But this is a priest, one of the sniper priests. So it comes in two sculpts. Here's the basic one. And then this one, I'll flip it like that too. So this is the basic sniper priest sculpt. This is the one with the Lewis gun. I snipped off his head. I snipped off his hands. And then I took an SMG and I filed off the parts of it that essentially the bolt, anything that actually makes it a gun as opposed to just like a trigger and like a handle, because I was trying to make a flamethrower. And then I added a backpack. So today I'm going to add a little piece of metal to actually make the little cone. I wanted it to be, while they do have flamethrowers in the Trench Crusade like bits, I've always found World War I flamethrowers really scary looking. So I'm probably going to make all of mine look like those across the board, with the exception of like, the Sultanate and Hell, like those kinds of things. They'll get some really gnarly looking ones, but like ornamental, ornate. But as far as like actual practical how the flamethrower works, I want it to look more like a World War I flamethrower, pretty much just a stick with a big tube at the end, than I do a flamer. Just because that's not really how they kind of worked typically. Also, I also love the way that the Jimmy rigged flamethrowers look in the thing. That is one of my favorites. So, and that's another nod to that. I want it to look as though they're just throwing stuff together. After that, it was just pretty much just other regular guys from New Antioch. They're going to be getting some grit. They're going to be getting probably some little accessories, little pouchies. But these are just mainly to learn the game over this weekend while I'm playing it a lot with myself and with my wife. Yeah, I don't think any of the other guys I really spent any time on converting. It was mainly just gluing them together, gluing the bits. If there are little spots that need to be, fixed, filled in, I was going to handle that while adding all the texture and all the grit. Which gets us into this group. This one actually not an ROK2. That may just be a World War II flamethrower. Yeah, that is. I don't know as much about that. I need to look into that ROK2. I do love. Now those may just be a World War II flamethrower. So I'm not against putting anything from World War II in, because I want to say the rifle that the Heretic Legions have, I'm not, off the top of my head, I am not that good with World War I rifles, or World War II, sorry, and that I'm almost certain is a World War II rifle. If it's not, then it's like late World War One, because that's essentially when you started seeing. I mean, the birth of the guns that would turn into AKs, like the Kalashnikovs, the Thompsons, all the guns that like made that led to modern day firearms. Like every modern day firearm, essentially, its birth, like the concept of it, was in World War One, just because that's when everything was made. Which, who boy, I don't think I ever got to this, but man, I cannot wait to have a warband that is entirely dedicated to the St. John Browning, the inventor of the bar. I'm pretty sure he invented the 1911. That was kind of scary and exciting. That was close. I thought that something really bad was about to happen, but it was just a light falling. Man. And now I know what you're thinking. Soviets made a flamethrower that looked like a rifle, so their flamethrower guys wouldn't get targeted. Fuck yeah, I didn't know that, Possum. That's so good. Of course they would. Man, the amount of things that the Russians did in World War One and Two that were like, hey, I got an idea, that fucking worked because like they just had dope ideas, were so good. That's one of them. I also like the Oberon. The Oberon is one of my favorite pistols in the world because it's not a pistol, it's just a rifle. It's just literally a rifle that's been just filed down to be a pistol because we made too many Mosin Nagants. But I think that was, I don't remember if they did that in World War One or if it was World War Two, because they did not have enough guns in World War One. I mean, shit, they didn't have enough guns in World War Two in certain spots. It's the whole thing is just so. I'm not going to get derailed in this, but my wife and I started watching Adventure Time again, and it is one of my favorite shows. It's one of our favorite shows, but it absolutely. I've not watched it since within the past year, and hot damn, that show hits heavy, and it hits even heavier. It hits heavier every time I watch it. But while I love regular show, and I definitely think the regular show it's a coming of age like show. Adventure Time is just like a life. Like at every point of my life, I've been able to like watch it and pick out something different, and to be able to relate and understand a different character in it. And that, what I was getting at with that is it made me appreciate things that I didn't normally think about. But I love that. That's one of the things that I love so much about World War One is that the tools that were made to like get the job done, they were made and they were sent out, but like so much of everything relied on just the everyman at the front, every man, every woman. You know, it's because they're, you know, all genders were represented during the Great War, to be honest. Like sexist concepts. Anywho, I love that stuff. The Oberez, Oberez rock hunt showdown has one with the metal cap on the butt, so it could be. That's so fucking rad. Hell yeah. I'm not actually. No, I am. Sorry, I didn't zoom back. I'm gonna go back in to looking at those, so I'll zoom back when I do. But I remember I got the collector's edition of Battlefield 1 just so I could get the Doughboy, which was like a silver 1911 that had, I want to say like pearloid like hand grips. Just because I've always found, I've just found that firearm it's very visually appealing. The design is very good, and just the practicality of it. Also, a key thing would be my buddy Derek bought one. It was a service. He has a service. My friend Derek has a service, like issued 1911 from World War II. Like his was given, it's a field. It was used in World War II, and it is. I really love my revolver because I have like an emotional attachment to it because it was given to me by my great uncle, and because it's along the same lines of guitars. And I don't ever want to be like, yeah, this thing that kills, like a guitar and a gun are not the same thing. They're both just tools, though. Like a gun doesn't have to be used for killing; it can be used for other things. I mean, shit. That's how the best way to like harvest mistletoe is with a shotgun. If you're ever like, hey, I want to get some mistletoe. If you take a shotgun with birdshot and you shoot it up into trees, that's how you get mistletoe. This machine kills fascists. Yeah. So yeah, man, I, I really loved one being able to hold that and like feel it when checking out his 1911. It's a whole different kind of feel than literally the same thing bought at a store now. And it's the same thing with my guitar. And that is something I'm going to have to put in a video at some point to like explain a little bit about me as a person and a little bit about what kind of games I like to play and how my brain works in that sense. And I know that sounds crazy. Like, why is your guitar going to be here and it's connected? But because we're going to be playing campaign games and narrative gaming, and that's the kind of gaming that I love. I love watching a story. I love watching anything stop being in my control. I'm not going to rant about arson and all kinds of things like that, but I mean, I definitely I've talked about how much I love fire and burning things, and that's a thing that like since forever. I don't do that now because I'm an adult, but that is the entire draw of it, of the kids that play with fire, of the stuff like that. It's the making something that you are entirely in control of. Oh my God, campfire storytelling with guitar after battle reports. Well, we could do that. And it would be a very in-universe draw, yodeling about what happened. There's so much stuff that I want to like do with Trench Crusade. Like seriously, the setting is like it's the perfect setting for me. So the amount of stories and lore that I'm planning on writing is I'm beyond excited. But I was wanting to say the concept with the guitar and everything that I want to show is I'm pretty sure I've shown before, but I have like a scar, a burn, a friction burn on my arm from playing that matches a burn on the guitar. And that's a key part to who I am and how I interact with the things that I love. It's the same thing, and I know I've talked on that before. Adri was just like, "Oh my gosh, your models, you're, being very rough, not putting them in the case." And it's like, yeah, I do need. There are a couple that have like scratches now and stuff that I need to fix, and I wish that I hadn't been as rough with them. But at the same time, I can't stress enough how much I want to push that lesson to people. It's not the lesson for everybody, but it's the lesson for people like me. Play with your toys, play with your guitars, play with your models, play with your things. Do not put them in a case to just look at, like, and think about doing the thing. Fucking do the thing. Yesterday you said tomorrow. Just do it. Just do it. So I'm not gonna do the whole thing, but I love that video, and I get what he's saying. Shia LaBeouf reference. And the whole thing that I'm coming down with this is because these characters are going to die, and because they are going to get different equipment, they're not going to be like a one and done kind of model. So I am going to be picking things up and making changes on them as we go. I plan on them being a living, breathing, we are going to be doing narrative gaming, and that is something that I think a lot of people want to know about, but are afraid to ask. So I'm planning on showing that, and I want to show how you can represent a force changing in, as your games go. I am in this picture and I do not like it. Yeah, I really want to show people how to do that. Yeah, if that's something that I guess my audience is like, no, just make the models, and then make new models whenever they look different. I could do that as well. I'm fine to just break stuff though, which is where I was getting at with these. All of these guys and all the bases. So all these bases were bases for my Black Legion army. So I already had a bunch of what I think are really fun little bases with pieces of wire and whatnot. Some little green stuff, copied skulls. That was back before I got all my printers, but I was making lots and lots and lots of copies and presses of the Warcry skeletons, like all the little skeletons that are like, you know, tied up and stuff. I just made a, whenever I would be sculpting and I had extra green stuff, instead of putting it in a ball and hoping it'll be good in an hour or two, which it won't be, I would just stuff it in that little mold. And then I just had a bunch of rib cages, like the back of ribs and the spine, so I could just put those down on these bases. Same thing with lots of skulls. I have a lot of skulls that I bought from GW, but I also eventually got to the point that I was just printing skulls because I can print so many skulls very, very cheap, very, very quick, and then just cover everything in them. And then that leaves the GW ones for actually sculpting. Not that I think they're like, oh, they're so much better, so I use them for sculpting. It's more of a, they are firmer. They have more density to their plastic. This plastic's a lot easier to like cut and scrape than resin. Resin will crack. So if I am sculpting on something and I get a little too rough, which I sometimes can, then that'll cause an issue. So this is the first of the anointed that I made. And I was really on the fence of, do I want to use my cacophony that I made for 30K, because I think they would be very good because they're kind of half wearing armor anyway. But today I'm just going to be, I've got to do a little bit of green stuff, merging that. But he's essentially going to be no sleeves. He's just no sleeves. I'm going to put a little bit of texture, a little different sculpts on that armor. There we go. But it was just one of my Black Legionnaires. The helmet specifically is one I'm pretty happy with. I took, after Kari did his, this is shortly after Dark Imperium came out. I bought 4 boxes of Dark Imperium. So I had a large amount of Primaris, and my entire idea, suns out, guns out, baby, and buns. Suns out, guns out, buns out. Just muscles and then cheeks. I don't know why, but when I hear suns out, buns out, that's what I think of when I hear suns out, buns out. There's another saying. I'll remember that one. I'll save that one for later. Yeah, so all of these helmets, essentially, I made them using regular Space Marine, Chaos Marine helmets, essentially just cutting them up and then resculpting the face shape after taking the, I want to say they're the Bloodbound. They're either the Bloodbound or the Gore Chosen. It's whatever the Age of Sigmar, when the new Age of Sigmar came out, all the guys that worship Khorne, the little dudes, not the guys in armor, but the guys that all don't have shirts on, they're all huge. They look like Norse guys, but they worship Khorne. Their arms are great for Primaris scale stuff because they're so absurdly over-muscled. So I use those a lot. And then this arm, it was pretty much just a mix and a big blend of Gene Stealer cult stuff. I don't know. I chop up shit and I mix it together, and I put pins in it, and it's just like, well, it's an arm. It still needs to get a little hole drilled in there, and it's going to get a club. Something really gnarly. So this, and my wife doesn't know about this, is actually a model that I made damn near a decade and a half ago. I mean, 10 to 11 years ago. But it was Trank, which I wanted, and I'm going to keep his head. His head is elsewhere. It looks like Snake Plissken's head. Trank was the character. He's one of my favorite characters ever from any game that anyone has ever played. Trank was my bandmate, roommate, Sean's character for Dark Heresy, which I cannot stress enough. The thing that makes this character so amazing is its creator. Like, the thing that I love so much about tabletop gaming and role playing and imagining all these things is it lets you see another side of the other people that you're playing with, and by doing that you can actually kind of get to know them and know who they are, like when they feel like, comfortable being vulnerable, and imagining this kind of stuff with you. It's very intimate, and that it's a I don't know. It's a very good thing. I love watching people come out of their shell and be comfortable, and have fun. But my roommate, he made a character named Trank, and Trank is a drug in Dark Heresy in the Warhammer world. It essentially is like, I imagine it as like mescaline, like heroin and mescaline mixed together. Like, it is the most cripplingly addictive, like extreme mind-altering substance where you're just like insane euphoria and also hallucinations and just crippling addiction. And it's just so short-lived. And my roommate he fell in love with the idea of playing a character that was addicted to Trank. And actually, like, it started off as like it was, I can't stress enough, it's not him like having fun with like drug addiction. And that's the part that I guess I really appreciated about it, is it just, when someone sits down like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make a drug addict be my character, like, oh okay, you're doing a bit, you like, you don't, like, that's the thing. Typically I would be like, oh okay, you don't have anyone like in your life that struggle with that or anything like that. That's not the case. And that's what I loved about it. He played this character. I would have never, that is a bet I would have lost. I'm not a betting man, and I'm good. I'm really fucking good at calling patterns and stuff like that before. So I typically am like, oh man, shit, I'd bet every penny on that. Not a dime. I would never bet. I lived with this man for years. I mean, we were in a band. The level that I thought that, like, I knew him, and then like we sit down to play a game, and he winds this amount of creativity that I would have never thought he was capable of. Not like, anything against him. It's just people are so different. We're just different. Like, you look at me and it's just like, man, you clearly kind of get the idea that this guy's barely able to keep all the things that are just constantly assaulting his head in there because they're just constantly coming out of his mouth. My roommate is not like that. He is a very, very quiet person. And it made me, I don't know, that really made me think about just a lot of stuff. And it made me like appreciate, like, wow, hey, he wants to play this character to try and like have a life that is so utterly different than his own. But he's literally like, he role played better and more. That's why he's my favorite character. Trank was my favorite character because despite my roommate never playing a role-playing game, ever. He had never played D&D. He had never done any of these things. But when we started playing this game, he made this character, and it was a character that he wanted to be this character in this world after he put together all this stuff, and he was like, man, I want to be this guy. But the thing that made Trank so good, Trank was almost like, man, there's no way to say it, but it's like the concept of almost open door philosophy to the extreme, and that's why this all connects. So Trank essentially was just addicted to this drug that made him hallucinate and made him feel good. So he would just go into situations while fucked up on Trank that he needed to, like, he was the most deep cover undercover cop that the Inquisition ever saw. At one point in time during our campaign, and this was like to give you an idea of how much I love this character and why I love this character so much. At one point in time, he went into a hospital. Like they're on their way to go do something, and they know that there is this other like hive gang, like in the city that's been doing some stuff. And they're like, yeah, we think they know some stuff. We need to go interrogate these guys. So the warband, they go to this like medical like facility, and they all are like looking for like these gangers and stuff. Trank instead becomes a doctor. And like he pretty much, what happens is he walks in and someone's like, you can't be in here. And he says, I'm a doctor. And Trank, like, that's the thing, is like his character was just so good. He built his character to just, this man could convince you of damn near anything because he believes it. His drug addiction has made it to where, like, if he can convince himself, he can convince anybody. And like he made a void. He made a void of a human that just went in and out of like reality at times, and the way that he played it was just so good. And I'm like, the more and more I think about it now, the more I'm like, it has to be a nod or a reference almost to a lot of musicians that we probably like grew up like listening to and hearing about them, because now that I'm saying it, it's just like all of these things sound like the way that he was doing it. It sounds very much like listening to Anthony Kiedis' like autobiography, talking about like, oh yeah, you just kind of go with the flow. You just kind of do this, that. And it's just like, yeah, I'm now starting to realize the similarities between the two. But yeah, Trank was one of my favorite characters. He looked like Snake Plissken, specifically Snake Plissken from Escape from New York. He had an eye patch. I cut his head off though because he is going to be Kelly's chorister. So essentially, a chorister is a priest that goes to one of the altars and ritualistically cuts off their head, and pretty much then proceeds to pick it up and carry it while it like says a bunch of heretical prayers, constantly singing. Carries it to the front line to go join a war band. I'm going to eventually, I wanted to sculpt some runes, because as it sings, the blood from its neck comes up and forms the words, the unholy words in the black tongue as it speaks. And then this one was one of my, initially for Visterion. I'm very pleased. I like how they turned out. Little pointy hats. But this is going to be my Heretic Legion's Heretic Priest currently, just because of, I liked the little hat, I liked the little backpack, and then it was easy to attach the swords and the guns. Eventually, I do plan on them having a staff and stuff, which that's another thing of why I wanted to have that conversation about, yeah, we're going to be breaking models and fixing them and changing things, because these guys are going to die, and they're going to have names. But yeah, so that's the whole plan. The plan is I'm going to get these guys at least finished to where we can play, get our ideas, our games down, and then we're going to come up with actual named characters. We're going to using Merkborg and Forbidden Psalms and all of the little OSR books that I have. I really wanted to go in and try to create a character for each of these, rolling up, essentially each one of these is going to be rolled up like a Merkborg character, if not more, so you kind of have an idea of who they are. Every one of these, like with narrative gaming, I think that is such an important part, is the characters, because otherwise it's just, why name any of them? At least in my head. I love the idea of a story that just kind of keeps evolving. and I really want to do that, and I want to show how you all can do that with Trench Crusade. But yeah, so that's why Trank lost his head, is because he is now going to be used in this game, and the idea pretty much hit me that he's supposed to be essentially like standing off like this, like pointing an axe, like, I'm gonna come get you, but he doesn't have a head, so you can't really see that he's looking at you. But he's gonna have his head tied to his waist, and it's gonna be looking in that direction. So, and then the rest of these guys are just little Heretic Legion troopers that I printed out and just glued together in just the basic manner. Now, with that said, they are still very, very pretty little sculpts. I do very much like them. And I am going to add the hoses and all that stuff. Detailing is still to be done. This was just print them out, play some games with them to learn the game while everything is still getting printed and ready. And yeah, I'm very, very excited. They look very good with little terrain. It's going to be fun. I'm excited to work on that. So today, it's just going to be pretty much getting some grit on them. So they are textured, filling in holes on these where the arms are, and then adding, of course, more texture. YouTube is being rude. Oh no. What is YouTube doing? Do not be rude to my possum. I'm not sure what it's doing. But yeah, I need to get a green screen. Thank you for pointing that out. Because yeah, it definitely eats into how much of this I have. I want to get a more intensive zoom. I don't want to have my camera any lower than it is right now, because I already am realizing that I think my lighting I need to bring lower for when I'm doing this. But yeah, I have a Chorister in my list as well, and I wanted him to hold a wooden shield. I love Bloodborne. Yeah. That's awesome, Possum. Man, that's so good. Yeah, I'm so excited about like working on terrain. Like, I've wanted to build a Yarnum style board for so long. Like, I don't know, I'm just so excited. All the stuff that I have that I've been wanting to make and I've been wanting to build, it's just like it doesn't like my next message. His head. Nailed. I do like that. The thought I had with mine, or with this one, because I'm going to make a ton of them. Like, I am so excited to nail to the shield like fly or something stigmata. Yeah, just like head nailed to the shield. I thought about that. I also thought about having a piece of metal like stuffed down into the hole, and then the head upside down stuffed on it, so like the hair looked kind of like a beard. There's all kinds of really grisly ways that I think to have the head attached, which I'm sure other people know. Anyone listening to this, as well as you, first thing that came to my mind as soon as I saw Chorister was Hereditary. I'm just gonna say right now, yeah, I'm gonna make a Tony Collette, and I'm gonna make a Tony Collette for Trench Crusade, because yeah, that's holy shit. Tony Collette's one of my her performance in Hereditary is one of the most impressive performances I've ever seen of any actor. That movie, the acting in that movie from her specifically is, Possum, do you like spooky movies? Like, do you like scary stuff? If you like scary stuff, I'm not going to say it's my favorite, because that's hard. Because I also don't group horror. Horror is very hard for me, because like my favorite movie is The Thing. period. Like, it's just my favorite film and my wife's. And then immediately after that, it's Alien. And both of those are horror, but I don't think of them, they are sci-fi movies. Like, and the thing is, I mean, they're both horror sci-fi, but I love a spooky movie. Possum, you really, really, really need to watch Hereditary. It is, I am very firm. It's the best scary movie made in the past 20 years. Hi, baby. I think mine is probably Apostle from YouTube. Apostle's sick, dude. Apostle was Netflix originally, I think. If Apostle's the one that I'm thinking of, the one where he goes, sound the bell, and then the guy goes, ding, 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 ding. I went back and watched that clip so many times, and I know that it's not supposed to be funny, but fuck, it's funny. And actually, maybe it is. The timing is so off that I can't imagine the director didn't want a little bit of a pause to like, man, this is rough, because it happens like in between some real grizz business. But the scene when he says ring the bell, after he says ring the bell, there's just a scene of the guy ringing the bell, and it's one of, when we were talking about intimate horror. Yeah. Apostle. Intimate horror. Absolutely. A lot of my, the Visterian cult that I made, like, I mean, most of my like cult, anything like religious cult, if I'm making it, it's based off of the father scene where he walks out of his house covered in the viscera with his daughter. Yeah. Yeah, that whole movie is just, it's wild. I need to watch that one again. I love the vampire, not to ruin anything, but all the things in that movie, it's just like, yep, you get it. Very Resident Evil, and I love Resident Evil too. It's just that aesthetic. There's something really good about that. But yeah, the Hereditary is, it's my favorite horror film, absolutely, from like this past 2000. I mean, honestly, let me rephrase that. So my favorite horror movie, if I take out Alien and I take out The Thing, it's The Shining, like easy. And I am one of those people that I don't care for the book because I don't care for Stephen King. He and I have, I think, quite possibly the single most differing opinions on horror. And I guess he finds heaven and hell very scary, and I find it very dumb and very cop-out. My favorite Stephen King like endings are like The Mist. And now I know that the book, the only way I could get my partner to watch Possible was to talk about what the movie would look like as an Arkham Horror LCG scenario. So I will say that. And I have had this conversation with many of my friends. And it is the movie that my friend Jared his wife will no longer, it was it. I'm no longer able to give recommendations to them. Like, she asks now, like, is this an Eli recommendation? Did Eli recommend this? After Hereditary. And also my wife will still say that's the scariest movie I've ever seen. And it really did disturb me for a couple of days. I think it is unrelenting. There's no other movie that I've seen that made me feel the way that it did. The closest one to it is Mother, with an exclamation mark, and Green Room. And those two, they made me feel overwhelmed. And the key part of it is also, because I've talked to other people who were like, oh, I didn't really think Hereditary was that good. It's just like, did you sit down and watch it? Like, it is a absolute work of art. And there's a part that is absolutely horrible, but in order to understand why it's a work of art, you need to understand all the level of love that went into it. Like, it is the most accurate from like you look into it I I was extremely excited throughout this movie because you can only make this movie if you do your research. And that's when I was just like, yeah, the only other movies that like at the time, the only other movie that made me feel like that was Green Room. I had not seen any other movie that made me feel like that. And it was overwhelmed. That's the feeling. It's not like Green Room. I was just like, I could have fucking died. Like that kind of scary. And you're just like on the edge of your seat, just like it's just happening to you. And that's how Hereditary is, but it's a different kind of, like, I've never been in a situation like Hereditary. I've been many, many, many times. That's why Green Room scared me so bad. I was so scared of Green Room because I have never really stopped to think about the places that I was in growing up or when I was younger. It's just like, man, I was there because, my buddy's there and so's buddy's there, and that's just his friend. But it's just like the other bands that like were playing there, the venues that we were playing, the people who owned them. I have probably played and just stayed in some really sketchy fucking places over the years. And it's just like that realization is what scared me with Green Room. Just the, oh shit, that could have been me. That could have happened. And the reason that it sticks so hard is because the director grew up in the hardcore scene. I read an interview where he was talking about the idea of the movie came from him, that they went to go to a show, but the show got canceled, and they found this out while they were standing outside. They're like, yeah, show got canceled. A guy just got stabbed like right here, and they look down, they're like standing in blood. Like that's the kind of like scene that like they grew up in. So it's just like that's why that movie feels so real. And it's grizz. Now there's definitely parts that definitely are not as realistic. It's the vibe, and that's what I mean as far as like why I love Battlefield 1 as far as loving World War 1. It gets the vibe. It's not World War 1 because you jump out of a plane and you don't just die. Like your parachute deploys and you land and you can start the game. Like if it was more like it, there's like the game just ends because everybody jumped out. One guy made it. Everyone else died because we're still trying to figure out parachutes if the plane even got there. But that's not very fun. With Hereditary, I don't want to, Possum, you need to watch it, so I don't want to spoil anything. But your partner will not like it. If they don't like spoopy, they will not like it. Jared's wife will no longer take recommendations from me. My wife loves the film, but is just like, that's the scariest movie I've ever seen. But the amount of love that went into it from learning about like the subject matter, and then what I find art is blending everything. Ari Aster is the director, and it's just so clear that he's not just a video guy because he utilizes sound along with scenes. So there's a part of the movie, it's like one of the most disturbing scenes, but there is just a low frequency note that you cannot hear, but it physically makes you sick. If you're listening to it in a place and you have a subwoofer, or if you have a setup that is capable of letting you experience the movie the way that you're intended to experience it, it will be putting out this low frequency spectrum that just makes you feel uncomfortable and like physically makes you sick during visually one of the most disturbing parts of the movie. I realize that sounds awful and horrible, but again, it's a sensations. It's it's new. That's straight up it's art film kind of shit hidden in, modern day horror, which again, the only reason that he was even able to make the movie is because he told him it was a family drama. Otherwise it would have not gotten lit, and it just got like greenlit, I think, when I got here late. What movie are we talking about? I'm intrigued. Hereditary. Possum hasn't seen it, so no spoilers, Tyler. I'm trying to convince him to watch it. And I'm actually about to just hop off here, but I will be back on in like an hour. And I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of work today. I'm going to be on here pretty much. I'm going to be on here just working, grinding, taking care of stuff. But I'm going to go make coffee. And I am going to get everything ready for doing all that. That way I can just get in the swing of it and start knocking it out. But yeah, I'm going to go do that. I'm going to go make coffee, and I'll see you guys in about an hour. But yeah, take care, sit pretty. I'll see you guys then. Get over there. There you go.